welcome back to my channel. It's Ashleigh here, and if you are new, hey girl, hey. So in this video today, it's gonna be a little bit different. I am going to be testing out how to bleach your wood furniture. So I've been wanting to do this for a while, and I have the perfect piece for it. It's super cute, very small, but I feel like when I bleach this out, it's gonna look amazing. Another really good thing about this piece is that it doesn't have a lot of damage, so I'm not gonna have to be doing a lot of repairs and things like that. The main thing I'm gonna do is just strip this down, which is not my favorite thing to do, but it's gonna have to be done, and then start the bleaching process. But before we get started with all of that, you guys already know that I am about to clean this piece because it is really dirty. So to get started cleaning, I'm gonna have my warm soapy water mixed with a little bit of TSP, a rag, my Lysol, some paper towels, and I'm going to be using the Dremel Versa in this video today. This video is sponsored by Home Depot and a part of their prospective program. So I am going to be reviewing the Versa today in this video. Okay, so as you can see, we are starting this video off on the right foot. So first things first, just make sure if you do use this, that splash guard is covering your brush, because I totally did not have it covered. And I kept wondering why it was called a splash guard when I kept getting water all over the place. So that's one thing you want to make sure you do, is that you keep that down and it covers your brush. So the Versa is basically a power scrubber, and you can use it indoors and outdoors. It's waterproof and it's cordless. Most people use this to probably clean out their bathrooms, their kitchens, pots and pans, microwaves, and stuff like that. But I thought it would be cool to kind of try out this power scrubber on a piece of furniture. So normally I just use a rag or a score pad to help me clean. So using a power scrubber was a little bit odd, but it did help me a little bit. And one of the things that I liked was, instead of using like the shorter bristle brush, I used the longer one to get in the back, because sometimes those areas are a little bit hard to reach when you are using like a rag or something like that. Another thing that's nice about this is they have different pads that you can use to clean, for polishing, erasing, non-scratch pads. They have score pads, extreme score pads, and they have ones that you can use on like delicate surfaces and things like that. So when I clean, you guys know I like to clean everywhere inside the drawers, inside the pieces, on the top, and everything like that. So I really just went between the bristle brush and one of the extreme score pads, and it really helped to get some of the harder to, you know, remove areas off of that. So that's something good that you can use for this. Also, like if you're doing like Google on or something like that and you have it sitting for a while, this is something real nice to just kind of take on there and just scrub off what you don't need on there anymore. The one thing that I can say about this is that the battery life was not the greatest. It did not last a long time, and you can always tell when it was about to go out, because if you like press down really hard, it'll just start to kind of like stop on you and start and stop and start and stop. So that's one thing that I wish you know, the battery life just lasted a little bit longer. And I feel like if it was corded, that power would stay there and it would keep that momentum, instead of it like stopping and going and stopping and going and not lasting that long. But overall, this is like a nice little tool to have if you're just doing some light work, nothing too extreme, because again, the fact of the battery was not the greatest. But other than that, if you just want to use this to just like do something, like clean something like here or there, I would definitely recommend getting this little power scrubber. So after I got mostly everything cleaned, I just removed the door from the front, and then I started to remove the hardware from the drawers. And after I removed that hardware from the drawers, I just flipped this on its back, and again just took my broom and swept away all of the spider webs under there and cleaned that out too. So I'm finally finished cleaning and getting everything ready for me to strip the furniture. So I'm gonna strip the sides, and that's it, because I really don't like to use stripper, y'all. It like is really messy. I can't. So I'm gonna use a stripper for the sides, and then I'm going to sand the tops, and I'm gonna sand the drawers as well with my orbital sander. So first up was stripping. So I am just using my Citri strip. I like to use Citri strip because it is a little less toxic than the rest of those other strippers that you can use out there. So I'm basically mainly kind of focusing on like the paneling in between the wood, because I know that that's going to be a little bit harder for me to kind of sand. So I just really wanted to basically strip those areas, but then I just ended up putting like stripper around just the sides in general. And then I also ended up taking the stripper and applying it to the front as well, because I just knew that, you know, stripper does help you to have to sand less. So I just went ahead and did that, and it's good to get into those hard to reach areas as well. So I just went ahead and I stripped the front of this too. So normally I let my stripper sit for about 30 minutes or so, and then you can let it sit for more than that and wrap it with plastic and all that stuff. It's just depending on what you want to do. But I'm just doing like this little small, like these areas here. So I didn't really need to leave it on there for that long. And now I'm just going to be taking my, I don't even know, I can't think of the name right now, my spatula, my scraper tool, and I am going to start to scrape off my stripper. And then after that, I put some more stripper into those center areas, let that sit, and I strip those off again. After that, like I said, I just sanded the drawers, and then I also sanded the top with an 80 grit sandpaper. So next I took the Versa again, which this worked really well with taking off the stripper with the afterwash. And you're not supposed to pour like all this afterwash on your stuff, but I just do this so that I can get it like cleaned really fast. But I just took that and started to clean away all of the stripper residue. So I let this dry overnight, and then the next day I came in with a 150 grit and I sanded the whole piece over again. All right, so finally we get to bleaching this piece, and I just literally got this Zinsser wood bleach off of Amazon. I like Zinsser products, so I knew that this was going to work perfectly. So basically I just flipped this over and I read the instructions. So there's a solution A and a solution B. And for the solution A, if it's a softwood, you do 5 minutes. If it is a hardwood, you do 10 minutes. So this is an oak piece, so I'm going to let this sit for 10 minutes with solution A. So I'm just showing you some clips of what this looks like before I start to put on solution A and then solution B. All right, so as I said, I'm gonna start with solution A, and I am just going to start to rub this onto my piece using a sponge. And I don't really think it matters if you rub with the wood grain, but I just went ahead and rubbed with the wood grain just to be on the safe side. So I did this to the whole piece. So this is what it looks like after I put solution A on. And now I'm going to leave it for that 10 minutes that it needs to be left on there for. Then I just came back with a different sponge brush and I placed solution B on top of that. And then I let that set overnight. So then the next day, as you can see, the wood is bleached and it's way lighter. And to make it even more lighter, I had to sand this. So again, I think I'm using like either 80 or 150 grit. I feel like I'm using an 80 grit just to make sure that I'm really getting this light. And I am sanding my piece again. And something that really helps me sometimes is if you're using an orbital sander and you tilt it up a little bit, you'll be able to get some of those areas that you can kind of tell after you've bleached they're still a little bit dark and you need to lighten them up a little bit. So then when I got to the sides, the little middle portions again, they needed to be lightened up a little bit. So I was switched between my orbital sander and also my sheet sander. So the sheet sander was a little bit better better because it was square and I was able to get into those corners. So I'm gonna show you here like this side-by-side shot so you can see on the right-hand side, I used my orbital sander, and on the left-hand side, I used that sheet sander to kind of help me. And if you have an oscillating tool, that'll be even better because you'll be able to use that little triangular sander and get into those corners even better. So I'm finished sanding everything down. So I finished it with like a 220, but when I'm completely finished with this, I'm gonna go back over it with a 400 grit sandpaper. So before I finish this up, I am actually going, so first I was gonna paint my drawer sides, but I decided not to do that. And now I am going to just take this paper, this decoupage paper that I got from Royce. She sent this to me a very long time ago, and I'm just getting to it. It's really, really pretty, and I think it's gonna look so nice with the color of the wood that it is now, and the colors that is in this paper. I think it's gonna look bomb on the sides, and it's gonna give it that nice little pop that it needs. You guys know I love to add character. So let's go ahead and get started with that. I'm basically just gonna be Mod Podging this. So honestly, in the end, if I didn't want this anymore, all I have to do is like sand this off on my sides. All right, so if you're an OG to my channel, you already know how I do this. So I mist it first, then I add my Mod Podge, then I add whatever decoupage paper, fabric, tissue paper on top of that. Then I add some more mist on top, add my Mod Podge, and then I smooth everything out. Okay, so after this dried, this is why I love to use decoupage paper, tissue paper. I literally feel like it's the same thing, but whatever. So once these dry, it's super, super easy to remove the edges. So all you have to do is take like a 220 grit sandpaper and then lightly start to sand the edges, and then you will see the tissue paper just start to peel off, and it's super easy, and you always have like clean lines. Next thing I did was I cleaned my hardware. So I got some really, really hot water. I added some vinegar, Dawn soap. I usually add like Coke to this too, but I didn't have any. And then I just put all of my hardware in there and I let it soak overnight. So after that, the next day, I just take my pieces and I just start to clean them. And what I normally use is just like a Brillo pad to do that. So this is what the hardware looked like after it was nice and clean. And as you can see, like the little handles here, they're like an iron silverish color, and they need to be kind of the same color as the other decorative part at the top. So I'm just gonna take this metallic gold from Arteza, and it was literally the perfect match. Oh my gosh, I was so shocked, but it's the perfect match. So all I did was I painted that onto the handle areas of the hardware. Then the next thing I did was I started to work on the inner portions of the drawers. So I wanted to keep everything the natural wood, so I'm just going to restore the inside. And to do that, I'm gonna be using the Howard Restore finish. This is the neutral finish, and then all I'm gonna do is wipe that inside of the drawers, and as you can see, it just shines it up and polishes it, because in the beginning it has like that ashy like look, and then once you add this stuff, it just brings it back to life. So then I decided to uncover where my drawers meet to create that dovetail look. So I'm just gonna take my ruler and I'm going to hold it where it meets, and then I'm going to sand that off. And then once I sanded that off, kind of just cleaned it up with a little 150 grit to make sure I had a straight line. So the next thing I did, of course, was attach everything back onto the body of this piece. So I added my door back, then I added the hardware, and then I added the little keyhole piece back to its designated area at the top here and nailed it in. And then I sealed this with a matte polyurethane. And the last thing, which I always do to my wooden pieces like this, is I spray them with this moisturizing oil, and it makes it smell so good. And finally, we come to the reveal. So I love this little antique washstand. I am so happy with how this turned out. I love the wood bleaching. It's so easy to do, especially if you get the kit from Amazon. You can do this with household bleach, but I just went ahead and got the kit that has the solutions that you need already mixed in together. You guys know this is so my style because I love light, bright things, neutral things. The decoupage paper on the side, just I love it, love it, love it. I also love the contrast between the body of the piece and the inside of the drawers with the original wood color and then the decoupage paper on the side. they all go together very cohesively, but you have that nice contrast as well. The hardware is to die for. I mean, this piece just has character already, and I feel like I just brought it out a little bit more. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned how to bleach some wood because it's super easy. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a big thumbs up. Make sure you comment down below to let me know what you think. If you aren't subscribed to my channel, make sure you click on that subscribe button and you hit that notification bell so you'll always be up to date with my latest tutorials, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!